Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya Hertz, and I'm the director of the Regional Entrepreneurship Center, the Rec Innovation Lab at San Diego Miramar College. And I'd like to thank our partners at this time and give a special thanks to SDSU's Lavin Center, the SDSU Zip Launchpad. We'd like to thank the California Entrepreneurship Educators Conference. Also like to thank Harness, the Brink SBDC at USD, San Diego Unified Schools. We'd also like to thank School of Entrepreneurship and Technology, High Tech High, the Regional Advisory Committee, Alex Waters at the Jacobs Center, Connect All, 21 IQ Labs, Startup Quest, Productified. I'd like to thank Course Key and Tech Coast Angels. Thank you to Village Up, City Heights Development Corporation, San Diego Angel Conference, Startup San Diego, SBDC, Score San Diego, We Are Kingdom, New Media Rights, San Diego Tech Hub, Origin 63, Ambrosio 15, OmniSync, Optima Office, Proven Recruiting, Craft Leadership, GS&L Consulting. Thank you to all of our partners. We couldn't do what we do without you. Thank you. And I would like to thank all of you for being here today with us at the Rec Innovation Lab. We have a special guest with us today, Zach, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about his journey as a startup founder. But I will let Stephen, introduce him. Stephen, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, if you've most of you are college students, right? So you're probably around the dating game and stuff like that. If you don't know about Zach's product, his app called Filter Off yet, he's going to talk about it a little bit more, but it's an amazing product that happens to coincide during these times of isolation, and it makes dating easier during these times. But not only that, Zach is a successful TEDx speaker. He's talked a lot to people, and he's been featured in articles in BBC, in the New York Times, and he just has an amazing overall resume. Thank you, Zach, for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Stephen and Tanya and Angela. I appreciate the time. So yeah, I'm gonna share my screen and I could start the presentation.
Perfect. Yep. So you can share your screen anytime. And I just want to remind the audience that if you have any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat. So feel free to put your questions in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, while we are watching Zach, I would ask that you keep your cameras off and your audio off unless you have a question to ask. And yeah, thanks. I think we're ready to get going.
Perfect. Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Zach Schleien. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Filter Off. It's a video speed dating app. Been covered in the New York Times, BBC, really now around the world. And I wanted to share my journey and kind of the failures as well. I think it's very easy to always talk about successes, and when you read books or you watch TED Talks, oftentimes you see these successes, but you don't see the failures or the process to get to the point of some achievement or success. And more recently, I mean, I was kind of in your shoes. I was recently a college student and went through or had similar thoughts, probably what you're having, of what do you want to do for a career, as a career, what do you want to, how would entrepreneurship fit in? And hopefully, after this talk, you have some value about those topics, and I can answer some of those questions after the talk as well. So my entrepreneurship career started when I was a senior in college. I did undergrad as a history major, marketing minor, and senior year, I wasn't really into the idea of going to law school, and I had this idea of connecting college students to startups. I always felt that as a student, we had lots of skills, but we couldn't always use the skills outside the classroom. So I partnered with a designer and a developer, and we built a platform called Beginu. And it was a way to connect college students to startups so they could gain real world experience while they were still in school to add to their resume. And I was always fascinated with the idea of connection and deep connection. I think you'll see that along this journey. And when I started Beginu, I was, and when we launched Beginu, I was very what's the word? I would say very excited, but also this idea of like failure was an option, that I'm going to make this like the next big thing. I'll make lots of money from it. And the idea of failure never crossed my mind. And until it started to kind of crumble, and we started having disagreements between one of the co-founders. And when you don't have a team that's all on the same page, especially in the early stages, it's very difficult to work. And this idea around perfectionism versus let's just launch, and it ended up not working out. And it was really this first time where kind of life slapped me in the face and realized, wow, I could actually fail. And I've spent a significant amount of time on this, and so many evenings and weekends. And I learned a lot, but yeah, it was rough to kind of go through. But like any entrepreneur, I pushed ahead and I dipped my toes into the online dating space. Online dating was something I was always fascinated by, and the ability to meet someone outside of your friend circle from a romantic sense interested me. And I was looking at like websites at the time, and the top app for every blog was Zoosk. And I was like looking into it. And if anyone's not familiar with Zeus, they basically came about with the advent of Facebook. Basically, when Facebook started allowing applications to sync into Facebook's platform, Zeus really took off. They got a tremendous amount of funding, and they really took off. And but I definitely did not think it was the #1 app. And every single blog rated it as the #1 app. And I quickly realized that Zeus had a very large marketing budget, so they paid for all their placements. And oftentimes those lists are not very accurate, and it's called an affiliate marketing. So once you make the install, that website gets paid. And that's what they were doing. So I really wanted to create a blog, essentially, or a platform to highlight dating apps, all sorts of dating apps, that wasn't tarnished by where the money was. So I learned about search engine optimization. I started ranking for keywords like which friends use Tinder. Back in the day, Facebook, before they really cared about privacy, you could leverage their Facebook graph search, and you could type in which friends use Tinder, and you could see all your friends that were on Tinder. And I made that a little button and an explainer video, and it started ranking on the front of Google for that keyword. It's called a long tail keyword, so more than one keyword, which friends use Tinder, and it drove a significant amount of traffic. We also ranked for keywords like OkCupid A-List. That was OkCupid's premier subscription service. And I started writing a lot. And at the time, I was always a little nervous about putting my work out there, especially writing. And I quickly realized most people aren't going to read your work anyway. And it's a good problem to have. If they read your work, a lot of people, that means you're probably crushing it. And it just allowed me to get more confident with writing. I got confident, became confident with this industry of digital marketing, or this skill of digital marketing, from analytics to search engine optimization, like I mentioned, and content writing, which are all incredible skills. But a lot of the skills I also learned from Beginu, which didn't end up working, I took into Top Romp, like partnerships, partnering with other influencers to talk about Top Romp, or doing some sort of partnership where I would write a review. And it was always an honest review. That was very important to me. And I started working on Top Romp, and it took off, and I ended up selling it, selling the publication to a Canadian company. At the time, I was kind of in that fork in the road of what should I do? Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to get a day job? And I ended up I got offered a scholarship to multiple programs at Syracuse University, and that's where I did my undergrad. And I ended up deciding to go for a master's in information management. I always felt that the IT side was something that I wanted to improve my skill set around, and understand technology, and be able to be that bridge between the business and development team and be able to communicate that. So I decided to do my master's in information management and build up my skill set. But in order to get into this program, I needed a startup. So I'm very into health and nutrition. I like to work out. I do the keto diet. At the time, I was doing the paleo diet, pretty similar. And I decided to start a paleo muffin company with my mom. And it was called Lift Protein Muffins. And I always felt that there were so many bars on the market and so many shakes. And this was about, how old was I? It was probably 7 years ago. And so this was before like this boom of health products. I mean, they were getting big, but not what they are today. But I always felt there was an opportunity to create a healthy product on the go that was different than a bar or shake. Again, with like very honest and clean ingredients. So it was a coconut-based muffin, and taking skills from Top Romp and Beginu, I leveraged search engine optimization. I wrote content ranking for keywords. I started YouTubing and creating a channel about, it was essentially like paleo tip of the day and how to eat healthy on the go. So it was not even just to promote my product, but rather to promote the brand and around convenience and health.
Didn't you interrupt there, Zach? I just wanted to say, I didn't know that you made muffins. I had no idea. It's funny, like my company that I had for years was we made muffins for Trader Joe's. So
that's so funny.
Yeah, I know.
Small world.
I know. I can't even stand muffins anymore. I ate so many of them and just for years just making them, but it's kind of neat. It's nice to see that. Yeah. Anyways.
So, and I used these skills and new skills and doing e-com and partnered with over there. He played in the NBA for a short while and then played overseas. And so again, this influencer marketing route, I started leveraging Facebook ads. So dipping my toe into paid advertisements from a social perspective and retargeting and leveraging our newsletter and our email list. So again, it was, even though I had this past failure and then Top Romp working out successfully, I used these skills and I applied them to this company. So my role was more on the marketing digital side. My mom was really the mastermind behind the recipes. And I also, again, I mean, this was a product. So learning about supply chain as well. And it was very, very, it was definitely a fun experience. It was difficult having a product. We ended up running a Kickstarter as well. So leveraged fundraising, and we raised a little over $5,000, over 100 backers to hit our goal. And the idea was, is this something that people want? And clearly it was. And from there, we had a kitchen, a manufacturer that started producing and distributing our product throughout the country. After a while, it definitely burnt me out. We ended up having to let go of our co-packer, and I ended up closing shop. Around this time as well, I ended up doing and shifting into starting my career in the corporate world, and I got accepted into Johnson & Johnson in their IT leadership development program, starting in the pharmaceutical industry. And
Sorry. Could you repeat why you had to close shop? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sure.
It was just every detail of your story. So yes, please tell me.
Yeah, no worries. It just burnt me out. We ended up having to let go our co-packer, which is like a manufacturer. Like just from a product perspective, it was not exactly what we wanted. And we just had some challenges with them. And then finding a new co-packer is difficult, especially this sort of product which we were shipping, which was a frozen muffin. So from a supply chain perspective, it makes it harder than something that has a very long shelf life. Doing again, frozen is tough. But yeah, finding a co-packer for the quantity that we're manufacturing is really difficult. Most co-packers require at least 1,000 units a day. And yeah, so it was tough being where we were at. And I thought about it and I said, do I want to spend a few more years to see where this goes and spend real money on social ads, or do I want to start something new? And so it was kind of like that decision that I made, and I decided to basically take a rest for a little bit of time and just kind of see where life would take me. And I also needed a paycheck. So I was finishing my master's program. So I started applying for roles and got accepted to Johnson & Johnson, then also a consulting role as well, but decided to go with J&J. So yeah, so back to Johnson & Johnson. So I did their IT leadership development program, was in pharmaceuticals, shifted to corporate, saw a few different sides of the business, really understood how large corporations function from an IT perspective. It was a really great experience. And around that time, I wanted something on the side to do, and I started Filter Off. And like you had previously seen, I was into online dating before I was highlighting dating apps and services that are on the market. But I wanted to build an app kind of for myself. And the issue that I was having was I was going on in-person dates, and I would sit down for drinks or coffee, and oftentimes quickly realize a few minutes in that we just didn't have chemistry, that we didn't vibe, that maybe I wasn't romantically interested. And yeah, I decided though that instead of meeting in person, to always FaceTime. And I would video chat with my dates beforehand, and the ones that were cool with it, I realized just how much more efficient it was. I got to see who they were as a person, whether we vibed, had chemistry, whether we were attracted to one another. And it was kind of like the first date before the first date. And only then, when I had that feeling of connection and trust, then I went on this in-person date. And I shared with my now co-founder, Brian, I said, listen, I've been video dating and I love it. And I shared this with him about 7 years ago. And about 3 years ago, he and I were chatting, and he's like, remember that idea? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, do you want to do it? And I was like, dude, you're getting married. Why do you want to do this? And he's like, well, I still think it's a great idea. So we set out to change how people online dated, which was creating a video first experience and get rid of the quote unquote swipe. And obviously in March 2020, the pandemic hit, and Filter Off, we got out of beta 1 month before the pandemic. So it was pretty wild timing, given that people still were not comfortable with video dating prior to the pandemic. But post-pandemic, or where we are now, video dating has kind of become the norm. I mean, people are on, like where we are right now, we're on Zoom all the time. We're video chatting with friends, with family, loved ones, and also dating on video. And again, from there, it's really grown, and the pendulum, like I mentioned, it really shifted. And one thing that I learned along this journey is, again, to continue to leverage these skills. So skills I learned from Johnson & Johnson, skills that I learned from Lift Protein Muffins, skills I learned from Top Romp and Beginu. So applying that to like PR. So I got, we've been covered now 3 times by the New York Times, 2 times by the BBC. Just last week, we created Another Marriage that got covered in the New York Times. So it's working, and it's really cool to see. But again, we're ranking for keywords. We're ranking for different, and we're getting into the press. We've been covered in over like 85 publications in the last 2020 to 2021. And we've run now over 3,000 events, 3,000 virtual speed dating events since the pandemic. And how it really works is you basically, based off of your location, I know there's a Filter Off event for all of you and for others later in the week. But basically how it works is based off your location, you'll see events. So there are public events. So an event could be wherever you're near, a city date night, a specific city date night. But then there's also interest-based events. So like a vegan date night, a keto date night, since I do keto, but all sorts of events based off your interests. We actually are rolling out a COVID vaccinated singles event. So, and then from there, we've really, grown. And now I'm going to show you a quick video. Let's see if it works. So basically here you RSVP, you get your dates, and then you can learn a little bit about your date. And then that's me. So you could kind of check yourself out before the date starts, make sure, and then you're on a video speed date. The speed dates for these events are typically 3 minutes. And there's even games inside of the events or on the dates. And when the date ends, you say whether you like them or not, and then you move on to your next date. So it's quick. We set you up on, again, lots of dates. And yeah, that's what it's really about. So, and aside from that, I'll get into kind of what we've learned during this time. So again, kind of have shared all these factors again, but I think the moral of the story is that like working on a team and having great partnerships is essential. Like if your team is you have lots of disagreements, but in a really unhealthy manner, it's very, very difficult. But SEO, leveraging current platforms. So I'm using an app now. It's called Clubhouse. It's an audio app. Great way to learn about new topics, connect with like-minded individuals. And I run one of the biggest dating rooms on Clubhouse. And again, it's able to leverage these platforms, and we get lots of new users to filter off, partnerships, content writing, and press. And lessons learned, things take a long time, and to be patient. I started this like entrepreneurial journey. I've been doing it for about 10 years. And like Filter Off is really the first one where I'm like, wow, this could be very, very big. But yeah, it's difficult, but working on Filter Off, I love it. And I think it's just so important, like when you spend a significant amount of time on something, if it's especially like a side hustle or your sole thing, it's to really enjoy it, because you're spending so much time and you're obviously making some sacrifices along the way, and there's luck involved. I mean, if we didn't have the pandemic, I'm not sure where Filter Off would be, not nearly as far as it is now. I mean, the pandemic really allowed for the acceptance of video dating. Financial stability, I think it's important to be smart with your decisions. Obviously, everyone has a different financial situation, but I was working for Johnson & Johnson because I needed this paycheck to feel stable while working on my side projects. And ideas are meaningless. It's literally about execution. The amount of people who've shared with me, oh my God, I've had this idea. I'm like, good for you. It's like, it doesn't matter. Ideas really aren't going to do anything. And whether you are an entrepreneur or working at your company or will be working at a company, you could be entrepreneurial even at your company. It's like, again, lots of people have great ideas, but the people that often stand out are the people that are executing on those ideas, which will allow you to grow within your company and be entrepreneurial in your company and find opportunities or things that are bothering you to really create new innovation within the company you're at. Team, I mentioned, and then like some of these skills. So like doing my master's program, doing all these side projects, it allowed me to learn all sorts of skills. And it's really been the side projects that have really allowed me to kind of dip my toe in all sorts of areas. I would say the area that I'm most confident or competent in is marketing and communication. And I think it's been fun to just kind of grow and learn and really just put this into Filter Off. So any questions?
I I was going to say, I have a comment before questions. I just, I agree with everything that you're saying, and I love hearing it from someone else. And the timing thing is one thing I wanted to comment on. I noticed myself, and research supports that timing is so important in entrepreneurship, and showing up, and just showing up. I love that. Right. I'm always trying to tell everybody, it's 90% just showing up, but it's so true that, just sticking with it and showing up is what it takes, a lot more than the idea. So yeah. I love everything that you said. So thanks for sharing all that. So questions, do we have questions from the audience? Yeah.
Yeah, I see some in the chat, and I just put my email in the chat as well. So let me just look at the chat. Wow, Zeus is old school. It is. Go Orange. Yes. Business model. Do you charge for membership? So we're rolling out, right now it's totally free. We're rolling out paid events. So right now events are totally free to attend. We're going to experiment with ticketing, event ticketing. So I didn't actually mention this, but we also allow communities and like social clubs to run their own events in Filter Off. So you can actually create an event in Filter Off. You can put your title, your logo, you get all the event analytics, and you could even charge tickets. So you could even make money from events as well. And it's just like a great way to bring communities together.
Yeah, this Friday, we're actually going to try it out at the Rec. And so everybody's invited to come, and we're going to hold an event on Friday, and it's more of a networking than dating event, but I'm excited to try the platform. Anytime we can try something other than being on Zoom, we're happy, right? Yeah.
For sure. So, and then we also have an alternative feature. It's a matchmaker. So basically you tell your matchmaker what you're looking for, and from there, you will get curated matches every day, 3 every day, and we'll add a premium feature. So if you want more matches, you can pay for that. So I think it's important to create a platform, though, that you could use for free and have a great experience. But if you just want more, you pay for. How was it working with your mom? I mean, it was awesome. Were there any particular things you learned regarding? I mean, yeah, I think it's the importance of having a really amazing team, right? I mean, like I look at that experience versus my experience working on Beginu, and like just there's one of the guys on the team just was not on the same page, and it just really wrecked everything. And yeah, so again, but yeah, the experience was nothing. Yes. Just, it was a great, wonderful experience in my life that I'll always remember. So how do you maintain privacy? So yeah, we encrypt in storage and in transit. We use WebRTC. So we don't store the videos. Everything is done through your mobile carrier. It also makes it hard. Video is hard. I don't know if you've ever been on a FaceTime chat or a WhatsApp chat, video chat, and maybe the screen didn't appear, or it was buggy or a little choppy. Video is hard. Our product is really stable, but it really depends on your Wi-Fi connection. If you have a crap internet, the connection will be poor as well, because it's coming through your carrier. We do also have now a web app. So we're on Android, iOS, and web. So for the web, it was a big win, because now you can take your dates right from your comfort of your office settings. So instead of holding your phone for let's say 7 dates, you can just now do it from your laptop. What other questions? Feel free to write in the chat, or just turn on your video. And I would also love to know if maybe also while asking a question, if what you found is potentially valuable as well. Not all at once.
Right. I found that that's one of the issues actually with working on Zoom, is people get a little nervous that they're going to talk over each other. And I mean, all jokes aside,
they're just not, they don't want to talk. So
That's not true. I've been waiting to talk. I just don't want to interrupt
Dana.
people.
Yeah, I know. That's how I know, Dana. The same way. I always am worried I'm going to talk over someone. Go ahead, Dana. Go ahead.
I just stay quiet to wait my turn.
Right.
You're up.
But first, thank you for the stories. It was, it's always nice to hear from the person that reached success, how their story developed. I create events every 6 months, but I use Eventbrite. So it's nice to also know that there are other options out there. The only thing that I always wonder about is this like online dating and online getting together with community. If it's actually to the benefit of community or kind of keeping us at a distance from each other, because I feel that the screen is a little affecting us on a non-healthy level. But I understand that we had to do it for a certain period of time, but that's the only thing that crossed my mind.
Do you want me to address that?
I would love for you to address that. That's why I mentioned it.
Sure. Yeah, so dating, especially in groups, is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Like if you did like an in-person speed dating event, especially if it's a community where people know one another, I would say that's even more uncomfortable because you don't want to be judged. And the beauty of doing it on an app like Filter Off, it's one-on-one speed dating, is you're not being judged from this like group mentality. It's one-on-one. And it allows you to meet like-minded singles. So whatever communities you run or other communities that we've hosted events, like one of them, for example, it's called Dating Greek. They have a television show on Instagram. And for them, they always felt that they have lots of viewers that are Greek that are like-minded, but they never had an opportunity to bring them together. And Filter Off was that first time. And they ran events with close to 150 people, and they created close to 240 matches. And they surveyed their community after, would you like to run another event? And 94% said yes. And I don't think 94%, that doesn't come too often. So I actually believe that even post-pandemic, video first dating is the best way to connect romantically, especially from a community aspect. Because it could be awkward in person. So, and people want to meet like-minded singles in community.
I agree. You know, I've heard a lot of people in my entrepreneurship classes at State and Miramar have expressed similar ideas, and you're on the right path when several people are coming up with similar ideas. And I'm just so glad that you've done it. So, other questions from the audience? So if you're trying to ask a question, Angela, you're on mute.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much for your presentation, Zach. I just had a question. What piece of advice would you give someone starting out, who is trying to find their way? And what was like one of those things that just jumped out at you that looking back that you wish you would have done differently, or that, you would have thought of ahead of time?
I think it's just launching. Again, like ideas are meaningless. Just like, yeah, I mean, you need to give something of value to people, but it's just like, it's very easy to come up with any sort of excuse to wait to launch. Oh, I need to find a developer in order to make it work. But oftentimes you don't. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you wanted a curated recipe algorithm, and it sets you up with different recipes. And you're like, I need to find a developer or get into some sort of program. Just launch a newsletter with recipes and just go from there. And if you can get 20,000 emails, that is incredible. And now you know it works. And if you burn out after 3 months doing this, you probably just saved yourself years of your life and a ton of money. So oftentimes you don't even need hardcore technical talent. And there's lots of apps like no code solutions as well. But oftentimes you could do it like on Squarespace or WordPress or whatever, or just creating a simple newsletter. So
I love it, Zach. You say all the things that I'm always teaching in the entrepreneurship classes and saying at the rec, just there's always a very cheap solution. And I don't care how complicated your perfect vision of your business is, there's a simple version, and that's what you start with. I love that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah, for sure.
Other questions from the audience?
Zach, I know that Tanya already mentioned this, that we're going to be using the Filter Off app as more of a networking event rather than a dating app. How do you feel about like pivoting the company to doing more stuff like that? Because I already know like the dating industry is like huge, but there is a lot of competition. Like you said, there's like Tinder, there's whatever the other dating apps are. Did you ever think of maybe like possibly pivoting Filter Off into something else?
So I actually think from a dating perspective, we're in the best situation given that all the big apps are swipe based. They've all added video, which is really nice to see. But again, the core product of all these apps is swiping first. You're spending hours swiping and you're not actually meeting in person. And if you do, you may have taken hours to do so. With Filter Off, the average woman goes on 75 dates, video dates per month. I don't think any other app can share that stat. So we've now like cemented ourselves as the #1 video first speed dating app that exists. So just really doubling down on video first, doubling down on community, creating it easier for organizers to create events and giving them data, allowing them to really just make money as well. In the future, could we also have a feature with a UI that's more networking based, kind of like a Bumble BFF? Sure. But right now, given that we're still early stages, I want to stay really focused on dating.
Which again, it's perfect advice that we always give.
Don't worry, we'll use you Filter Off as your pilot program for networking.
There you go. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, and
I saw another question there from Dana. She was asking about the how you sold your publication to a Canadian company.
Yeah.
She was wondering,
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of websites that you could use to sell websites. So I put it on one of those and spoke to a few different people and took the best offer. And someone mentioned me using Tinder without a single date. That's my point. Yeah, I mean, like we have so many different events. We've partnered with communities like Subtle Asian Dating. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's just like we've partnered with communities. Meet You. It's a Jewish community. So we've partnered with communities that are religious, ethnic, but also communities that have a specific like topic of interest. So it really scales the gambit. And if you've already asked a question, I'm okay with you asking another question too. If you have additional questions, I also shared my email in the chat. I can share it one more time. It's zach@getfilteroff.com. And if you shoot me an email, if you could be specific with your question, I'm happy to answer as well. Don't be shy. We have
a lot
of people.
It looks like when you were targeting those communities to work with, from what I saw, it looks like the communities that have quite a bit of a hard time on dating apps themselves. Was that like something you actively thought of? Because I know as an Asian man myself, Asian men are like not like the dating scene is not there for like apps like Tinder. Is that something that you had in mind when you did your research?
So again, there was no research done. It was more so like what communities. I got introed to Subtle Asian Dating. Someone who was part of the community said, "Hey, I think Subtle Asian Dating could find this of value." And I spoke to the person running it. She spoke with her team. She did a pilot with us, and then this other app. And the other app, it crashed. And for us, it was very smooth. And now they run all their events on Filter Off. So yeah, and again, if you're part of communities or no communities, feel free to share Filter Off. Again, it's free for communities to host their own events and build their brands essentially as well.
That's awesome.
I have a question. do you, it's just about the size of your business right now and where you see it going. You know, you're so new, and where a lot of our student founders are hoping to be in the next few months. And I don't know, can you give us an idea, kind of the size of the business, and did you actually raise any outside funds, or are you planning to, things like this?
Yeah, so it's me and my co-founder, Brian. I still work for Johnson & Johnson. Brian runs a Series C company. He's raised about $80 million for his company.
Oh, okay.
When we complete our raise, we're going to be quitting our jobs. But long story short, I mean, we're pretty large in terms of doing everything organic. We've taken no money at this point. We're going to do a small raise in the next 45 days. So like family and friends. And then from there, we're going to be spending a significant amount of money on ads, probably social ads, to really grow this. We'll focus in New York City to start, because that's our biggest city at the moment. And then from there, we'll use that to give us the momentum to raise a seed or a Series A. So that's kind of the approach we're taking.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys just dominating. I mean, you already are, but.
And I mean, you really, for a consumer app, you need real money behind it. And I think we've done an exceptional job with zero budget. Yeah.
Totally.
And being covered in publications like the New York Times. I mean, from a PR perspective, to get covered in the New York Times, if you hire an agency 3 times, I mean, that could be $45,000 easy. Plus BBC, like all the PR we've gotten, $100,000 easily. But yeah, we've done everything in-house. I mean, the development alone is probably close to $1 million of development, but Brian built everything from the matching algorithm to the iOS, Android web app, to all the server work and to everything in between. So it's really about team and being able to delegate when needed, but bringing people on as well that you think would be of extreme value. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
I love it. Other questions?
I was just wondering, Zach, how many hours a week would you say you dedicate to your startup, your company? I mean, you're working a full-time job with J&J. How many hours outside of that are you working? I mean, and I hope that's not too personal of a question, but
no, it's fine.
I'm just hoping it'll motivate and inspire the rest of us, you know?
Yeah, sure. So J&J is like a 9 to 5. Try to get a workout in the morning. So at 8. Sometimes before the workout, I work an hour on Filter Off. And then at 5, I typically work another hour to 2 hours on Filter Off. And then I'll make dinner. And then around 8 or 8:30, I run a Clubhouse room, a dating room on Clubhouse, which has led to a lot of new users. Those rooms are about 2 to 3 hours long. And then I go to sleep. So I mean, I consider Clubhouse Filter Off. So I'm spending perhaps 5 hours a day on Filter Off. And then I usually take Saturday totally off and Sunday I'll work. So I'm working on Filter Off anywhere from, let's say, 20 to 35 hours a week on Filter Off, aside from my day job, if not more. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice because you have a full-time job and you're still putting in so many hours to work on your company. It's inspiring.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
And it takes that much, right? I mean, it takes that much to run a startup. I don't know how people can do it with a lot less. So I wanted to ask one other question, and that is, if we do have questions, I know you shared your email address. We do have one thing at the rec, which is which is a dedicated mentors or subject matter mentors. So if anybody has a question for you, I was thinking mostly it sounds like you're just really good at the marketing bit. Is there any other things that I could let our team know that you would be willing to answer a question on, besides dating, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, my background, I'm very good at PR.
No kidding.
And SEO and branding, and yeah,
Awesome.
that's
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach. You're awesome. All right. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time unless anybody has any super pressing questions. Okay. Well, then I would like to thank Zach for coming. This was a real treat, and it's going to be nice to say I knew him when you get really big, and no, we really appreciate you coming, so thank you so much.
For sure.
Yeah, once Filter Off becomes the new Tinder,
I know.
we'll be like, I know that I'm gonna brag to everybody like, hey, you guys using Filter Off, I met the founder of that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, and if you have questions, I shared my email. Yeah, feel free to reach out, and thanks so much for hosting me today, and enjoy your event on Friday. And if you know of any communities or want to create your own event, you could do so right in that.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Excited. Thanks for doing that for us. And thank everybody for coming. And if you want to watch
one last thing, I did paste the link to the survey into chat if you can scroll up, but I'll just post it again. We really appreciate it. We can just get some feedback for Zach and just for the rec in general.
All right, thanks. All right, everybody, have a good one. This, like I said, the recording will be up usually within 24 hours on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks again for coming. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zach.